many fans here in the chat.
Welcome back to another MDG Media production. This is the final round from EUROTOUR stop number 3, the Krokhol Open. I'm your host, Nate Perkins, and I'm joined here today with Elias Luukkonen, who finds himself on this lead card. How are we feeling today headed into this final round?
What's up, Nate? I'm very excited. One of my first times to be in this big position, and certainly an exciting round to go into as one stroke lead over Paul McBeth. He's been playing decent but not great so far compared to his level. Certainly looking forward to put that hot round today in the books.
And we got Bradley Williams. It is his first time in Europe. It is event number 400 for him. The man has 126 career wins, guys, and over 20 of those are A-tier events.
And rounding out the card, Miro Ryhänen, also from Finland. Very hot player right now, has been playing way above his rating for this year. Actually, in fact, most above his rating out of all Finnish players. So, really hot player right now. Great putter, very consistent thrower.
And we've seen through the first two rounds that this course has some teeth at every turn. So there is nothing we can really predict during this final round, which always makes the watch that much more exciting. Hole 1, it's one of the tougher par 3s on the course. It's 133 meters, but it plays slightly uphill, and it's been playing into a head crosswind all week. Most of the field has been playing this one for a par.
Yeah, it's a really tough hole to reach, and many players, as you said, playing just to that right side of the hill, hopefully giving themselves either a long jump putt or just a very short approach. And problem with this hole is that if you land on top of the hill, you're likely skipping left, but if you hit the right side, you're likely to be rolling right. Oh, did Joey do something for Jomans back in the day?
Welcome to the lead card EUROTOUR Krokhol Open 2023. From Espoo, Finland, Ismania MDG Media win 2 EUROTOURs last year, Heatland Open, Belgian Open. Please welcome to the team, Mr. Elias Luukkonen.
And I will have to admit that at this point I was very nervous. I was certainly feeling the fact that there was many hundred people watching. I'm trying to go with my S-line PD here, just straight towards the basket. Threw it a little bit too high, much higher than I would like, and that has skipped OB on the left side. So not an ideal start, especially if I want to hold that lead.
California. And Team Describe, 6 times world champion, 5 times player of the year. Please welcome to the team, Mr. Paul McBeth.
And Paul looks like he's attacking this pin today.
Yeah, in past rounds Paul has also played a little bit to the right of the basket. Pretty much a safe shot, but this round he pushes it more forward, lands on top of the hill, and he's got about 10 meters to start off with a birdie. That's an incredible approach.
Team Innova has won the 2 Disc Golf Pro Tour events, including last year's Preserve Championship. please welcome to the tee, Mr. Bradley Williams.
And Bradley committing to the layup here, short of this hill.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave him a little bit of a laugh, saying that's old man golf that he's playing right there. Certainly the old man on the court.
Coming straight from his first win at the Pro Tour in Finland, please welcome to the tee, Mr. Miro Ryhänen.
Now, have you played much with Miro before?
I believe this might even be my first time, but a very familiar guy from tournaments. He actually is coming off from a win on the Finnish Pro Tour last weekend, and also going with a bit of a lower flip-up, hyzer to straight, with something slightly understable. That's zero nerves by him. He's one of the toughest guys you will find on tour. Really cool head and a very strong mental game.
And that's one of the best shots we've seen this weekend on the opening hole. 600 strong in the gallery for this championship Sunday. Oh, is it? Bradley Williams catches the front side of the cage and nearly rolls out of bounds. It checks up, though.
Yeah, that's going to be a common theme on this course. These sloped greens really set up for roll-away potential. I was very ambitious. I was trying to make my par putt there from around 15 meters uphill. Paul here for the birdie start. Just exactly 10 meters. And he makes it. That was an incredible putt. I was actually watching it from the behind, and the way that putter fought the wind from left to right, it was perfectly smooth, perfect angle, letting the wind push it to the chains. It was very good from Paul.
Wow, a little replay of it right there, and those are exactly the putts that he's been struggling with so far this weekend. So to see that one connect into that head crosswind there, that's a big statement. Here's Miro for his birdie.
Strong putt there, and Miro, especially known as an incredible putter in Finland. Some people have even stated that he might be one of the best putters in Finland right now. So, looking forward to that. Bradley for par. Very strong effort there. He also had a little bit of putting struggles in round 2, especially towards the latter part of the round. Looking forward to mixing or fixing that in this final round. And that's exactly what he has to do if he wants to have a chance.
No way. And that just leaks out left side, and that is a nightmare start for you, Elias.
Yeah, talking about nerves, I actually have to admit that that's not that much nerves, but somehow I just lost my focus and thought that the basket looked very big, so I went kind of quicker than normal, which is certainly not the thing to do in this situation.
All right, short walk to the tee pad of 2, and we're headed up this steep hill. Pretty demanding turnover shot for the right-hand player. You really want to get up and on the flat part of this fairway. You can see there's OB lining the entire right side, and the woods on the left are pretty dense. And then you have another uphill approach to this slanted green. Ton of rollaway potential here. This is definitely an attackable hole. We've seen quite a few birdies on it from our lead card throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I'd say this is one of the, as you said, more attackable and I'd say almost easier birdies on the course. Since on the drive the fairway is pretty wide. As you can see, Paul is just going with something slightly understable, trying to hold it over, and lands on the left side of the fairway, which opens up more of a straight or right to left moving approach. And important on this hole, control your drive and especially control your approach. Really, the drive is just a setup. Doesn't really matter if you get that much distance, as we see Miro in the middle of the fairway. You just need to be on the fairway and set up for a good approach to the green.
Bit of a helping wind. There was kind of a headwind left to right that kind of helps your disc turn over. You just have to expose that wing for a moment and it'll drift.
Yeah, I'm going with an understable DD3 here. Trying to get a little bit more distance than the other guys, but didn't quite adjust for the headwind there. And hitting inbounds, but bouncing to the right side OB, that's not what you want to do on this hole. As I said, the fairway is very wide. It's not very difficult to hit. Certainly should have gone with more stable there.
And this is probably just over 100 meters into the pin, slightly blind. Oh, going with the T-Bird turnover, and that is another beauty. Is that exactly the shape that he executed during round 2?
Yeah, exactly the same shape. Does it even better this round, last round leaving himself a 5-meter putt. You can see Miro taking the opposite approach, the hyzer, yet you can see the problem with the hyzer, it easily skips down the hill. So that's why I'm throwing a forehand, hopefully fading into that hillside. As I do, but I don't get any sort of skip forward, so I still have a circle's edge putt there for saving the par.
And a super unfortunate little checkup there on that forehand approach. And Paul able to go straight at this pin, drifting it just a bit from left to right. And he climbs into the circle. Oh, what a beautiful shot of the gallery. We're just outside of Oslo, Norway, right in the foothills. A couple of fjords around us. And that is an unfortunate committed putt right there. How'd you feel on that one after 3-putting that first hole?
Well, I was certainly trying to give a bit of a stronger effort there. Didn't like the miss though. And Miro showing off 0 nerves on these first 2 holes. You can see that strong mental game he's got. Not bothered by the big crowd or the big situation. Also Paul puts it in the middle there. These other guys are certainly looking very solid at the start of this round. And Paul actually already has 2-stroke outright lead.
Yeah, it's the first 2-for-2 start we've seen. Paul and Miro both. And Bradley 1 down. But as we said, this course is very unpredictable. No lead is safe out here, and we head up the hill from the basket of 2 into this dense pine forest, and this is one of the most demanding drives on the course. If you miss this one and kick left or right, you can see just how quick you're gonna bogey this hole. It's up on this little ridge. Definitely some rollaway potential up by the pin. It's only 95 meters, but the gap is maybe 2 meters wide.
Yes, the gap is very tight. And important on this hole is angle control. You need to find your disc going straight for the whole way. If you fade left, you're gonna go down that ridge. And also the gap doesn't really set up for anything else than a straight shot. So you can see Paul here turning it over. That's a common mistake when people are trying to avoid the slope on the left side. But that's also not ideal, even though he's gonna have a relatively easy approach, but it's almost no look for birdie.
Miro misses on the inside of that gap, kicks right. And Dr. Bradley Williams lining up a rock here. Old school looking rock. I think he likes it. That is an incredible shot. That's the best tee shot we've seen all weekend.
Yeah, that was incredible, and it's impressive to watch him live. I knew he was one of the smoothest players ever, but watching him live is just reassuring that one of the smoothest throwers I have ever seen, especially with the backhand. I hit some of the early trees, but get a couple of good kicks there, stay in the middle of the fairway, still within 30 meters of the basket.
Yep, good approach there. All right, looks like Miro punched through just enough to putt it up into the circle. And Paul with a similar look from yesterday, nearly pin high. Yeah, gives it a healthy bid. That's only 5 meters, but it's into a head crosswind, and it's looking straight at the cliff, so that's a nice, confident stroke from Miro. And Bradley to get the only birdie on the card, move to 10 under for the event, just one back of Paul now.
Yeah, that's a great birdie to get. Especially since, as you said, on this hole there was a slight left to right wind. Headwind from the angle that Bradley and Miro were putting from, so made that straight shot even slightly more difficult. But a clean score from there, from the card, and just 1 under.
All right, one of the signature holes at Krokhol, number 4. You have this menacing gap. You're headed downhill, trying to flex one out over the out of bounds that you can see on the right. Woods on the left are super dense. This is just a very specific line that this hole is asking you to throw. And if you don't execute, you're likely bogeying. And we've seen a couple double bogeys this weekend. Definitely a big swing is possible on the 4th.
Yeah, certainly. For these top players, it's not an insanely tight gap to hit, but more difficult is the angle control here. You can see Bradley actually going with a destroyer, a very smooth, softly thrown destroyer for his arm speed, just hitting the gap perfectly and getting that big fade to the left. You can see how consistent that shot was, never in any danger, fading just outside the bullseye. And just another showcase of that masterful angle control he's got.
And did you actually catch what Bradley said to Paul right there?
I think I did, but I have forgot it after the round here.
It's just pretty funny to park the hole and then you know, kind of give your competitor a tap on the shoulder and like wish him luck or something on that tough gap. But looks like they're having a good time out there.
Yeah, as Paul throws his force inside the circle there. I actually believe Bradley mentioned that he was inspired by Paul throwing that distance driver on this hole.
And that's the danger of the hole. You'd miss that gap. Now he's throwing a whole new par 3 from up on the hill, bad footing.
Exactly. I had a bad start, so I just grabbed the best feeling disc out of my bag, which happened to be an FD3 for this hole, and tried to hit the right gap with slight anhyzer, and I'm very happy with that result. Finally, hopefully getting that first birdie of the round.
Yeah, beautiful shot to get you on the board. Off that bogey train. Tough life from Miro, having to hang this one out over the out of bounds. Needs to swing. Oh, and it does so beautifully. Well thrown from the standstill position.
Yeah, that's a really good saving shot inside the circle there. Miro, known to be a very consistent thrower and a consistent gap hitter. I was surprised that he missed this gap. Paul from 9 meters here after 2 very solid putts. Hits it on the left side. That's a rare miss, even in previous rounds when he missed a little bit more putts. They were almost never left and right. He pretty much almost always when he was missing, he would miss high and low. So surprising miss from Paul. as Miro and Bradley clean up their putts.
Just a beautiful FD3 shot, Elias. And we're all tied up at the top after that McBeth miss right there. All right, heading to hole 5, easiest hole on the course, 175 meters, par 4, attackable, but I don't think anyone on this lead card is feeling like they're in position. Maybe you. Do you want to send this one?
Yes, I believe I'm going to go for the basket as hard as possible, but for the other guys, probably not the time right now, especially since we had a bit of an unpredictable wind here. The wind was playing from right to left, a bit of a right to left headwind, so making that long turning backhand drive slightly more difficult.
Little Jeff Spring action right there, and the MDG media crew. That's Duge and Andy, Elias. Oh man, if you don't know the MDG boys, you're quite the crew.
Yeah, some of the hardest working people, as we see Bradley going with a safe shot here. That would be a sidearm hyzer, obviously. Pretty much removing the chance of going OB on the left side and setting up for a longer approach, but still a very manageable one. I'm once again going with an understable DD3, just trying to absolutely rip it. But you can see that head crosswind just turning the disc over. I still got pretty okay distance and good position, but certainly not the result I was looking for.
All right, McBeth checking the wind there, has a couple forces. Believe he goes with the straighter one. I think that might be fading out early. That is. It's going to be out of bounds for Paul.
Yeah, and that's out of bounds by a lot. That was really not even close to coming back in bounds. I believe it was the right to left head crosswind that bothered him there. Miro going with something slightly more understable, turning to the right, but it was a little bit left from the start, and you can see it challenging that OB and ending up in there. Couple of really actually big mistakes by Paul and Miro. It's a lot of room to the right and almost no reason to go to the left here.
Yeah, and Paul's been pretty dialed with that Luna. I believe that one went into the water on 14. Looks like he got that one back. And that is a nice approach from just inside 100 meters.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Miro going with a link here. His favorite throwing putter. That's a good approach there inside the circle. Bit of a nervy putt left with the slope behind the basket. And Bradley is going with this backdoor hyzer route. Plays it a little bit long. Good stop before the next downward slope. So he will have a birdie putt there. And I have just a 50-meter approach here. Trying to put my sensei there with some good touch, and very happy with that. Another birdie chance there.
And Bradley connects. That is going to be his 4th birdie in a row. He takes the solo lead. Paul has this for par. And he's up and in. Going to stay just one back of Brad.
Yeah, and Bradley making it look so easy that suddenly he just has 4 birdies in a row. I have to admit that I didn't even realize it at the moment that Bradley was playing such a good start to the round. Myself just outside the bullseye here, tapping in. Certainly feels pretty good to get a couple of birdies here after the really rough start.
right, hole 6, very specific shape here, just 100 meters, bends from left to right. It's not too extreme of a bend. So the forehand does play. A lot of players are throwing a backhand with a neutral mid-range that kind of just matches the angle of the late tree line. Gets back to flat and just kind of scoots up. You really don't want to air this pin out because there is a steep drop off behind this basket.
Yeah, exactly. I believe all 4 players will be going with the backhand since we have a very backhand dominant card here. Bradley with the Mako 3, trying to push that disc forward and turning right at the same time. You can see he lands it well before the basket, but still skips inside the circle there, just 5 meters away. Really good distance control, getting that disc on the ground way before the basket.
And a little overturned out of the hand. Punches through the gap though.
Yeah, you really want to push those backside trees for the ideal shot that ends up near the basket. As we see Paul doing a bit of a better job with that. Almost on the edge of the wood line. That's just the perfect shot, going with the Buzz SS.
Wow, that's like deja vu from yesterday's shot. That's airing this pin out. And that is what happens when you do so. Whoa, that looks gnarly down there. What's it like?
Yeah, I can tell you that is absolutely nasty going over the pin. And he's got only about 25 meters to the basket, but plays closer to, I'd say, 50 with the steep uphill. I'm trying to just lay up under the basket here with the sensei. Doing a pretty poor job. I'm still 8 meters away. And you can see how tough Miro's spot was. Just putting it to the hillside and even getting a bit of a bad roll backwards. So he's still out at 10 meters, hopefully trying to save this par. Very strong effort there as is expected from him, but he will have to settle for the bogey there. Good fortunate break not to roll away there. This is an insanely scary putt. I can tell you, it's all... Everything behind the basket is just emptiness, and if I would have missed that, that would have been a double bogey for sure.
Big moment for your round. And there's Brad for his 5th in a row. Come on. He is taking control. McBeth. Bullseye. He's just one back.
Yeah, some incredible play by actually both of these guys. Being even 3 under at this point is a very solid start, but Bradley's 5 under even, I would call that almost a perfect start, especially since he wasn't particularly going for the green on hole 1.
All right, hole 7, short par 4. Most players are playing hyzer around the right gap. Some players are trying to really get on a driver here and get past this second group of rocks, past these PDGA Europe signs, right up here on the flat. Then you're left with a little straight shot. Basket sits up on this little knoll. Ideally, you'd want to land short or right of this pin. You do not want to land long or left. There is another steep drop off that honestly, you could roll for 100 meters down that hill.
Yeah, for sure. You see many players trying to turn their approach over, either with the backhand or fading into the hillside with the forehand. Let's see, Bradley going with that common hyzer approach to this hole. He threw it a little bit more inside than many players are looking forward to, but keeping it with a good distance, short enough so that he does not challenge the rocks or the woods.
A little overturned out of the hand for Paul.
Yeah, out of his hand, he was already saying, oh no, please come back, and still keeping the disc short enough and fading at the end so he does not go into the woods. But I was sure that was turned over, and out of position, but apparently the guy knows his discs better than I do. I'm going with an understable S-line PD here, just trying to rip it up there, hold it straight for the entire flight, and I'm very happy with that drive.
Really got on that PD, and that is a huge shot, probably 130 meters. And Miro puts that driver into position. The tee shot isn't so demanding. It's really this second shot that can get pretty touchy.
Yes, exactly. Tee shot is all about position, and obviously you can bite off some distance, like I did, but it's not going to help you if you can't approach well on this hole. Bradley, playing the smart shot, playing slightly to the right side of the basket. It's only about 7 meters left from there, so it's a very good play to just play to the right, unless you have incredible touch and you're comfortable with playing it straight to the basket, as looks like Paul is doing. And also doing the common miss of leaving the disc a little bit short, trying to bounce it up to the green. He's about 8 meters there. Similar thing for me, just a little bit further than Paul here.
Nervy putt. High right, catches, strong committed putt right there. How'd you feel looking at that death putt?
I felt pretty confident, I have to tell. And especially since these baskets are a little bit wider and they catch a little bit better from the side as a regular basket. And Paul almost bounces it out of the pole. Very confident looking stroke there once again on the pole high. Bradley also with a scary angle. If he had missed that putt, he would have certainly been rolling down the hill.
And Bradley, 6 in a row. He is absolutely playing perfect.
Miro unfortunately hits it high, just right side of the pole, and gets that unfortunately common spit out on these baskets. The chains are pretty light, and if you hit it hard and slightly on the right side of the pole, it's quite common that you see discs going through. So not getting the star frame here, that's a terrible break for him.
All right, hardest hole on the course, par 4. You really want to push something up through this tunnel and then land flat here in the mulch. You can see just how small of a landing zone that really is. And the gap is pretty late in the flight too, so just such a demanding tee shot. And then the right-hand player is left with a flex out over that out of bounds, something that fades late in the flight and heads back down into this pocket in the pines. We have only seen a couple threes on this hole all weekend long, Bradley Williams being one of those. Let's see if he can continue this perfect round.
Yeah, this hole, as far as scoring average, plays much closer to a par 5. And I'm sure none of these players are mad if they get a 4 on this hole. Bradley turns his drive slightly to the right. That's likely not going to be a good chance for an aggressive shot to bite off a lot of distance, but rather just lay up to the middle of the fairway. Paul here going with a very steep hyzer angle, going with a very flippy, I believe, Anax, skipping slightly to the left side of the fairway, but that's incredible distance and still on the edge of the fairway. One of the better drives we have seen on this hole.
It really goes to show you how small that landing zone is. Bradley straightens that T-bird out just a bit, and Paul hyzers out just a bit, and they're both good shots, but in really tough positions to score. And you hyzered off a little early. Did you make it past that Mando, though?
I did make it past Mando there, but I don't have any shot to go forward. I just have to pitch the fairway from there. As we see Miro just slightly challenging the right side, but gets a gorgeous kick in the middle of the fairway there, giving himself a really good chance to possibly even challenge the basket, but at least get a lot of distance with the second shot.
Oh, and he overturns it, kicks left. That's not a good spot. And pitching up on the 8th is never fun. You're now going to have to throw a pretty high level shot to try and card your par. Bradley is forced to pitch up. He's going to have to throw a high level hyzer into that green. Here it is, FD3 cranking over on it. This looks so good. Around the last group, that's it. That's the shot we've been waiting to see. How does that feel, man?
Man, that felt incredible. Honestly, I have to tell, I was just imagining that Bradley Williams at this point getting a lot of spin on that disc to hold that anhyzer angle along with the overstable fairway driver and still having that fade at the end. That's one of the better shots for me in this tournament, I have to admit.
And that is exactly what this hole is asking the players to throw, and that's why we just don't see birdies, is because that is just such a high level shape to execute, and you did so with that 9-speed. Oh, and Paul nearly getting that forehand to hyzer back and give himself a look. It hits the last branch it needed to miss, and he might have an angle for a putt.
Yeah, Paul, there's certainly still a pretty good result within putting distance after 2 shots. As we see Bradley a little bit early to the left, that's a very common miss here. It's kind of deceiving. You would think the gap is earlier on the edge of the woods, but it's actually very late. And Miro here has to just pitch up from the woods. Unfortunately, hits the first tree available, only advancing about 5 meters there. So he will be throwing his 4th shot from here, still trying to get out, and that's a very unfortunate, pretty much one empty stroke there.
And he still has a tough shot to get up and down. And that's not it. That's early once again. Like you said, very common mistake. Paul doesn't quite have the angle. Just going to pitch that one up.
Yeah, Paul with still some work left to do there. Hits one of the guardian trees there, bouncing from about 7 meters. Miro just pitching up for the unfortunate 7 there. And Bradley also does the same as Paul, hits one of those guardian trees, leaving a much longer putt for the bogey here, as he would like. Tough putt here, slope behind the basket, and bangs it in the middle. That's a great one.
Wow, big moment for his round to stop the bleeding here on hole 8. Man, that was close to 10 meters left after hitting that tree. And Paul's going to pick one up here, and they are all square through 8 holes. Those Finns, man, I tell you, they putt hard, even from short range. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common theme, especially amongst some of the younger players, like Miro and, well, sometimes myself. Now I'm putting a little bit soft, but yeah, young players in Finland certainly not scared of the basket.
Closing out the front 9 here, uphill par 3, 85 meters, plays closer to 100. There is a pretty tight but straight gap here on the right, and there is a little bit wider gap on the left. Basket is up on this flat part of this hill, slightly elevated here. This is one of the more attackable holes on this course.
Yes, and certainly one of the more attackable greens as well. Rarely do we see on this course that the green is pretty much flat. There isn't much of a rollaway potential here, as Paul is going with a low hyzer shot here. Very smart, trying to hit that hillside and hopefully roll back towards the basket as he does. That's a very common result. Great shot, and it's actually very consistent how the discs that hit that hillside always tend to roll down to the basket. So good knowledge there of the course.
And we got to see Paul go 3 for 3 with the Athena here on 9. And you straighten that out just a little bit. Maybe punches into circle's edge right there.
Yeah, I'm actually quite far ways out, maybe about 15 to 18 meters there. And still some bushes to contend with. Bradley going with another insanely smooth shot here, landing just next to Paul. Really showing off that experience, and those guys have been throwing the disc almost as long as me and Miro have been alive.
That's pretty funny when you put it that way, and it is certainly true. And they are going toe-to-toe right now. They're tied up, and they're both inside the circle. Miro misses the inside of that gap. He's going to have an 8-meter putt for his par.
Yeah, not exactly ideal there, but as we said, a very confident putter. I'm almost tripping over my feet here, trying to give it a bit of a run there, uphill. Not quite giving the Anheuser, and this is a bit of a disappointing par, as Miro makes a great putt for that. I still assume a bit of a disappointing par. Certainly one of the more birdieable holes on the course, as these guys are in the circle putting for birdie. Paul already in, obviously just 45 meters here left.
All right, and a few clear mistakes for Paul, but he still shoots 5 under on the front, his best front of the weekend. And Bradley shoots 6 down on the front with a bogey, and they are tied up at 14 under par, headed into this back 9. Little MDG slow-mo of that McBeth rip right there. We're taking a look at our top 10 here. You're still in this game. You're 4 back, but as we said, things are pretty unpredictable here at Krokhol, and you're still very much in contention. How are you feeling?
Yeah, certainly. I'm still trying my best, and anything can happen on this course, but also trying to enjoy just the viewer experience of these 2 top players playing incredible level of disc golf right now.
And thank you guys so much for joining us here on MDG Media. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel. It helps them out so much. These guys are working through the night to bring you this coverage, and leave Elias and I a comment. Let us know what you think of our style. Let us know what you think of the Krokhol disc golf course. How crazy is it? And we will see you soon for the final 9 holes of EUROTOUR stop number 3.